Good morning, y'all. It's a cloudy day here in southeast Alabama. We need some sunshine. Um, Today I'm going to talk to y'all about a medicine I took that caused me a problem that almost cost my life. Um, it was in May of 2014, and I had a sinus infection. Called my doctor's office, and the nurse called in a prescription for me and said that that should take care of the problem. And at the time, I used to smoke, and I kept a sinus infection. It seemed like all the time. I even went through 2 sinus surgeries, and they seemed to work for a little while, and then it seemed like I was right back in the same situation. But since I've quit smoking, I don't think I've had but maybe 1 sinus infection in the last 3 or 4 years. And so my doctor called in this medication to my pharmacy. I didn't know what they called in. My wife went down to the pharmacy to pick up the medicine for me and brought it to me, and I took the medicine. I took 1 pill. It was called Levaquin. Levaquin is a fluoroquinolone medication in the fluoroquinolone family. I took the 1 pill, and we were doing some stuff. We had a little store at the time, and we were doing, I don't remember what we were doing. We were unboxing some new merchandise or something. And she had a meeting that night for a civic organization she's in, Pilot Club. And she was doing around and getting her stuff ready to go to this meeting. And I went out back to smoke in the alleyway. It was after 5 o'clock. It was probably getting close to 6, because it seemed like that might be about the time their meetings start when she goes to them. She was doing around inside, getting her purse and whatever she needed, and finishing up with what she was doing in the store. And I went outside, like I said, I went outside to smoke, and I walked out the back door and closed the door, and I was standing there smoking. And this was about 10 minutes after I took Levaquin. So I'm standing there, and I dropped my cigarettes or something, so I squatted down to pick up the box. I don't remember exactly. And I got dizzy when I stood up. I mean, I was so dizzy I couldn't hardly stand up. And I dropped my cigarettes again, so I squatted back down to pick them up. And this time I hit the floor or the ground. And I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't move. I mean, this hit me suddenly in the matter of 10 minutes. I'm on the ground, and I can't get up. I can't reach the door to open it. And she's inside, and nobody's driving through the alleyway. Nobody's walking around outside to see me. And I couldn't do anything. So somehow I reached up and managed to grab the door handle on this back door and pulled the door open. The door had one of those arms on it that would pull the door closed. So I was struggling to even pull it open. Excuse me. And I grabbed the door, and I managed to get it open, and I hollered for her somehow. And she happened to see me, and she came back there, and she didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I just knew I couldn't function. And somehow she managed to get me up and get me to a chair in the back of the store, where she sat me down, and she went to get the phone, and she was like, "Do I need to call 911?" And she was freaking out. And I had no idea what was going on, and she didn't either. And it got to the point to where I didn't know what to do. I got to where I couldn't talk hardly, and I was having difficulty breathing. So she called 911. Luckily, she did call. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I'd never been in a situation like this before. And she called, and I'm on the floor, and her daddy just happened to come in, and he's thinking, I can hear people talking, but I'm not functioning to where I can talk to you. I was getting to the point I couldn't breathe, and I was starting to black out. So the rescue squad and the fire department come, and they rushed in the front door, and they brought the little bed out of the squad, and they were talking to me, and I could hear them talking. I could hear them asking my wife what I had taken. And she's like, he hasn't taken any, like I was on drugs or something. And she's like, he hasn't taken anything. He's been here with me all day. And I don't do drugs. I never have. And she's like, he hasn't done anything. He's been here all day. He's taken this medication, and that's all he's had. So, and I'm laying there, and I'm able to hear what's going on in between me blacking out, and I'm starting to not be able to breathe. And I start praying. I'm like, God, please take my soul to heaven, because I'm thinking I'm gone. And they load me in the squad, and I remember grabbing one of the guy's legs, and I'm like, air, I need air. And I didn't realize they'd already put it on my face. They take me around to the hospital, and I come to enough thinking I'm getting better, and I'm like, I'm fine. I think I'm getting okay now. And we had an Explorer at the time, and I could see the Explorer behind the rescue squad. And I know my wife and her dad are behind me, and they're coming to the hospital, to the ER. They get me into the ER, and I remember seeing, because I used to work in the ER admissions, so I knew a lot of the nurses and some of the doctors. I remember seeing one of the doctors that I knew when they were taking me in, sitting at the doctor's desk. And I'm thinking I'm going to reach out and grab him and tell him to please help me. And I couldn't do anything. I couldn't talk. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I was blacking out in between breathing. And I just remember going by this doctor wanting to say, please help me, but I couldn't do anything. It's like I was paralyzed, and all I could do was hear stuff and look around. So they get me into the room, and this nurse comes in that was fairly new and starts asking my wife information, put me into the computer, because they didn't wait around to go through registration. They just took me right on into the room. And no, excuse me, I'm sorry. My wife did have to go through registration, but they took me on back, and the nurse is standing there putting information in the computer. My wife did come in because she signed the information and all they needed at the front desk. So she was in there, and a nurse, I didn't know the nurse that was in there to start with, but a nurse I know came in and took over because she realized this nurse was taking too long. Lauren realized what was going on. Thank God she realized. And she went and got Dr. Edwards, God bless her soul. She passed away in a car accident about a year ago or so. Dr. Edwards was wonderful, and Lauren was wonderful. And Lauren came in the room. She ran and got Dr. Edwards, and they gave me and the shot just passed by me. I was having an allergic reaction to the to the Fluoroquinolone Levaquin. I was in severe anaphylactic shock. I was minutes from death. Luckily, they gave me the shot, and I cannot think of what it's called because I have them. My wife carries them in her purse. If I were to ever have a reaction again, we'll have those shots. So she gives me a shot, and my parents were in a town nearby because my nephew or niece, one, was having a baseball or softball game. And my wife called my parents, and my parents got there in minutes because they didn't know what was going on either, and they were freaked out. And luckily, I could hear Dr. Edwards, and I was able to say enough to Lauren that Dr. Edwards told my wife and my parents. She said, I recognized the voice. She said I could hear him, but I couldn't see who it was. So she knew my voice, and she came in the room, and she saw it was me. I was in severe anaphylactic shock, and like I said, I was minutes from death. And thank God for great nurses and doctors at Medical Center Enterprise in Enterprise, Alabama, because they saved my life. Um, Dr. Edwards, I can remember hearing her tell my parents if his blood pressure comes, because my blood pressure dropped. It was bottoming out. She said if his blood pressure comes up and will stabilize, then we'll let him go home. If not, we're going to have him stay the night for observation to make sure nothing else happens. And of course, I came to the time that she made the decision that my blood pressure was not staying up. So she sends me to a room and makes me an inpatient for 24 or 23, whatever it is, hour observation. She puts me in the room upstairs, and by this time I start coming to a little bit. I'm starting to breathe because the shot they gave me had started to get me stabilized. And I remember my parents and my father-in-law left after a little while because I was coming to then. I was able to talk and I was breathing, and they left. So I wound up staying the night in the hospital, and my wife stayed with me, of course. And Medical Center Enterprise in Enterprise, Alabama, regardless of what people may think or say about that hospital, is fantastic. Dr. Edwards, like I said, God bless her soul, she and Lauren saved my life. And had they not been there, and Lauren coming in to see what was going on, because like I said, she knew who I was, I probably would have passed away, because they said I was within 5 minutes of dying had they not got that medicine in my system, and got me stabilized enough for me to be able to come to. I couldn't breathe. I was blacking out, and I knew in my mind I knew I was dead. But all my doctors have fluoroquinolones and Levaquin on my sheets. I cannot ever take that medicine again. It would probably kill me if I took a fluoroquinolone right now. My doctors and all my new doctors all are familiar with it now, and they know that I cannot take fluoroquinolones. They know why, and I have never been prescribed fluoroquinolone again in my life. If you are prescribed a fluoroquinolone, and it could be, I don't remember all the names of them, Cipro is one, watch yourself. There's a lot of side effects besides what I went through. You can die from this medication, so please ask your doctor questions if you're ever prescribed a fluoroquinolone. But I'm going to end it here. I am coming up on my 5th year anniversary since this happened to me, and I cannot thank God enough for allowing me to be able to survive this situation with this fluoroquinolone. I just advise you to check into it if they are ever prescribed to you, to make sure you know the side effects that can occur. But I'm going to end this video now. Y'all have a good day and take care, and I will see y'all on the next video.